Well, good morning. Welcome back to the Common Good podcast. And if you're a little thrown off that we're talking politics on a Thursday, well, because we live in a wacky world. So we just have to do what we have to do around here. Hey, Rob, good to see you. I feel like it's been weeks, my friend.
Hey, yeah,
It's been weeks.
I just want to start off by saying I want to welcome everyone to this episode of Blue Hat, um, where apparently, Doug, hopefully our views will be there'll be enough difference between our views, our perspectives on the news, and the topics of the day, so that we can have some good conversation, as opposed to just mirroring one another. Like we're both wearing blue hats
Yes.
and blue
Yes.
hoodies
I mean,
and
honestly,
gray t-shirts under the
yeah,
blue hoodies, and yeah,
good Lord. Yeah, the
yeah,
matching vibe here is if you find a
yeah.
pair of glasses, I would throw them
Yeah,
on.
Vanessa gets annoyed whenever she and I accidentally match one another when we go out.
Yes.
On the town. She's like, We've become her grandparents." So,
Yes. I was playing
but yes, I am.
pickleball the other day, and a pair of people that turned out to be a couple, husband and wife, were the next to play. And I said, "Oh, are you guys a couple? Because you have matching pickleball paddles." They had the same pickle, and they said, "Oh yeah, I know. This is so embarrassing." So,
That's funny. Well,
somehow they
I
bought a
am. Yeah,
pair. It was cute.
yeah. You said it has been weeks. I was last week. I spent the week in Paris. I was in France and had a really wonderful time uh, doing some work with a climate change group that is working on trying to change the conversation about climate change, which is good and important. And so that was a really enjoyable time. My first time in France, my first time in Paris, and
And what's your verdict?
real. I mean, really, really nice. You know, I don't know if you've had this experience when you travel. Oftentimes when, I've gone other places and you just kind of imagine, like, could I live here? Do I want to live here?
Hmm.
Am I gonna
Sure.
dream about living here?
All the time, every
Um,
time I travel, I ask that question.
and, I had the experience going to Paris that, I really enjoyed visiting. I don't think I'd wanna live there.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Did you bring that up regularly to the folks in the
Yeah,
cafes and
why
the
why do
restaurants?
you why do
Okay, I'm
you live
having a
here?
great time and so glad I get to go home
Yes,
to
exactly.
Arkansas.
But so yeah, hey, don't make fun of Arkansas.
I'm not.
But
I'm just
here's
saying
yeah,
with a smirk on my face and a chuckle in my voice that you said I don't want to live in Paris. I'm going back to Springdale, Arkansas.
yeah.
No, no problem.
Um, yeah, but one of the I brought back some chocolate. I brought back some cheese. I
Is
brought
that
back
legal?
some.
Okay.
Yeah, yes, I googled these things. I brought back some wine,
Google these.
um, and I also brought back some COVID, which it's not great.
But it's
Um,
European COVID, so it's like closer to the original. It's not some cheap American knockoff of
That's
COVID.
right. That's right. It's
You
not Walmart COVID.
you got
I got the genuine thing.
oh,
Yeah,
well,
so I my long streak of keeping COVID at bay
yeah.
and has finally come to an end. I have joined the masses of people who have tested positive. So I'm getting over that now, and still feeling a little
Yeah.
yucky, but not nearly as bad as I was. So
Can last a long
quarantining.
time. It can last a long time.
Well, let's hope that's not the
Yeah.
case. Quarantine. Two things. Quarantining, no fun at all. I refer to myself as an antisocial extrovert, but I am still
Meaning
an
you
ex.
want to be with people when you're not with them, you desire it, and then when you're with them, you're like, "I just wanna go home."
No, meaning I want to be at the party, but I also want to be sitting in the corner making fun of everybody with like
Oh,
a friend.
hmm,
Um, yeah, the party will like give me life and
I see.
energize me, but I don't want to like deal with the people at the party. Yeah, so quarantining not fun. The other thing, Doug, have you had the Paxlovid? Have you had this? Have you
No,
had this?
No, the thing that
Paxlovid, which
saved
is
Trump's life. No, I've decided to stay away from that just as a protest action.
just
Remember that
on
sign?
pure
Remember that sign
principle.
we saw at Lafayette Plaza, which is the park just outside the White House? They had fencing up, and there were a bunch of signs there for all manner of things, and one that is really, really macabre and really cruel. And I only mean it because it's funny. I don't mean it because I think it's true. Do you remember the sign that said, "COVID, you had one job"? It was in reference
That's
to
funny.
Trump having COVID and
Yeah, so
surviving.
Paxlovid, this drug cocktail that helps
Mhm.
to reduce the symptoms of COVID
So
and
they
whatnot,
say. Yeah.
the antigen
Mhm.
treatment. It has a side effect called, which apparently after Googling this, I found out is called Paxlovid mouth, um,
Mm.
which which
Paxlow
is
mouth? Okay.
which is just the worst taste in your mouth.
Oh,
Ugh,
yeah,
ugh,
yeah. Mm.
ugh.
Oh, just walking around like breath mints in all the time or
Yeah,
something.
and oh,
Sorry.
yeah, it's
Sorry for you.
miserable. So
Somehow I can smell it through the magic of the internet. It's
this
just in my
oh,
imagination is
you got the Smell-O-Vision Chrome extension loaded on
yeah,
your
yeah,
on your browser.
just you can just say it. Hey, Jim from outside of or in Ventura, California says, I'm lucky to live in one of the most beautiful spots in the world. So it's beautiful in Ventura. How is it there in Springdale? How we
It's
doing here as we approach Halloween holiday?
Yeah, today is a glorious fall day where it
Mm.
is chilly and raining and
Mm.
gray and just exactly what fall should be like.
Chilly, rainy, and gray. Just how I like it. Sometimes you want the outside to match the inside.
That's right.
And
Listen, if I have to have COVID and doom scroll the morons
okay,
that get chosen as Republican leadership,
sure,
um, like
right.
I want the weather to look like it.
Today's going to be one of those days here in the greater Minneapolis area, a little rainy and all. But yesterday I went on a walk and I took a picture,
I saw
and
this.
I stopped and took out my phone and said, I'm going to capture that. I often don't think that pictures
Yeah.
of landscapes are useful for anything. I mean, nobody wants to see them. I don't want to see them. They're never as good as you imagine. But boy, this just pile of leaves. We have had a wonderful beginning of the losing of the leaves season here in the Twin Cities because it was very warm. It's been wet enough, but not heavy rains and not heavy winds to knock all the leaves off the trees. Sometimes by this point in this season, the leaves have just been beaten
Yeah.
off of those branches, man, by
Yep.
all kinds of things. Sometimes a little light snow, which might be coming this weekend here. Um,
Oh,
Truly, the
goodness.
forecast was light snow showers on Saturday. Unbelievable. Um,
Yeah.
but yesterday, I mean, just the colors.
It's
That's just
beautiful.
one tree on one part of a 3 mile walk. I could have taken a dozen of these photos. So just nothing but lovely around here. Um, all right, Rob, so much to catch up on. I mean, honestly, we skipped a podcast a week ago due to uh, your COVID vacation uh, to pick up COVID, and we're delayed by a day um, or two, and it's just unbelievable the things that have gone on.
The news
In
does not stop. Yeah.
Man, it has been a deal. Including, we should recognize that right now
Yeah.
in the state of Maine, there
Oh,
is a person that I mean, I don't know if something's changed in just the last few minutes, but that is has murdered a number of people with an assault style rifle. A person who's military trained and a weapons expert has apparently murdered a bunch of people in a bowling alley and shot people outside of it and is still roaming around. And that just creates like that nightmare scenario creates just such tension in people. I mean,
mm,
you and I live so far from Maine. There's no fear, particularly of that person in my life,
mhm.
but you feel the anxiety. Like I could smell the Paxlovid breath that you're carrying around. You just feel this I don't know. It's horrible because you just never know when someone else is going to have the
Yep.
same kind of mental break and have access then to these weapons. It just
Yeah.
is utterly
Yeah.
madness to me.
Yeah. I was sitting last night watching some TV and just happened to open the uh the app formerly known as Twitter and saw that what was happening and it just it's just this heartbreaking thing of like why are we doing this again?
Mhm, mhm,
And
mhm.
this isn't going to make any difference. Like if Sandy Hook, if Uvalde, if like all like if Columbine going way back, if these things didn't change anything, like this isn't going to change
Yeah,
anything in
no,
Maine. And I'm not normally a kind of a defeatist or a pessimist. It's just like, okay, this is the latest example of this, and
right.
we'll see how long it is until we have another one. Now, what was interesting is there were news reports, and I use the word news reports um, uh, very loosely here, but there were reports on Twitter last night that apparently that this gunman was this murderer was um, doing fancy things there with the comments, Doug.
I'm just trying
I'm
to
not
get them.
I'm not sure if I like it.
I'm just
Um, but
trying to
there
get them
were
right.
yeah, there were reports last night that he had been caught. Apparently, that's not the case. There was some confusion because apparently there's talk about well, there apparently there's another man with the same name in Maine who is a registered sex offender, and so there was lots of reports that the gunman was a
Oh,
sex offender. Turns out that that was the other guy. Um, I
tough
would
name.
say that, yeah, I would say like well, his life is ruined, but nah, like
You don't care about that. Um,
yeah, I just I mean tragic, heartbreaking
oh,
reminder of like we've got to do something about
yeah.
the AR-15s at the very least.
Yeah, we've just turned it into a tragedy, though, that when people die tragically in car accidents, we just
Mhm.
simply say, well, that's part of what it means to be a culture with cars.
Yeah.
People die in small airplane crashes. We just say, yeah, it's really horrible. But there's a lot of people who fly who don't die in small airplane crashes. It's just a tragedy. But then some ways that people die, we're like, oh, we're putting an end to that. Like that's not happening again.
Yep.
In
Yep.
Minnesota, we live in a place where there was a particular way that pools drained, and it harmed and killed a child. And like we just rearranged how pool pumps work. Like said,
Yep.
no way is that one off thing ever going to happen again. And we do that a lot with some things, but then other things we put in the category of yeah, it's just part of living life. And we've decided, against my better judgment and desires in this country, that people killing one another with weapons that are designed to kill people
Mhm.
is something we're just going to live with. And I'm not being, now that may change. We may decide at some point we're not going to treat this as just a inevitable tragedy, but that's not the case. Won't be the case after
Yeah.
today.
Yeah. I just, think back to, on your point of like why we do think well, why we take action sometimes and we don't
Yeah.
others. I think back to like the I don't know, the late 80s when jarts was a thing. Do you remember jarts?
Oh, I have a whole story about jarts. Okay.
Okay.
Yes. Say more.
Jarts, for people who might not know or might not remember, jarts were lawn darts, which, you would toss them and throw them, and they had a long, pointy metal spike where they would stick into the ground, and there'd be a little cornhole-like game that you would play with
Yeah.
jarts.
Mhm.
And,
Terribly fun.
what yeah, oh, for sure. I love jarts. I believe it was, one young girl was tragically killed. um, in
Hmm.
a Jarts accident, and Jarts went away.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. And these are not jorts. These are not jean shorts. I don't know
Yes.
why they're called jarts. Maybe javelins and darts. I
Yeah.
don't know what the
Yes. Yeah.
why they're called. Yeah, I
Yeah.
great illustration.
Did you play Jarts in your jorts?
Okay, not only did I play jarts, but and
Yeah, tell us your
I am
Jarts
not I
story.
am not advocating parents punching their children by this story.
Oh my goodness, that's a setup for a story. By the way, I'm not advocating for parents
Whatever
punching their
you take
children.
from this story,
All right.
do not hear me advocating that it's a good thing for parents to punch their children. But I was 16 or 15 maybe. And we had some kind of a get together in the backyard of the apartment complex I lived in. And we very rarely had these, and I don't know why we did. But there was jarts, and I was kind of a dumbass kid, and at 15, my dad was just growing increasingly intolerant of the dumbassery his loins had produced. And by the way, did you ever see Smokey and the Bandit? The movie Smokey and the Bandit.
It's been a while.
There's this one scene where the sheriff says to his adult son, who's kind of a bit of a ne'er do well in the movie, and he says to him, "Boy, when I get home, I'm gonna no, boy, there is no way you could come from my loins. So when I get home, I'm gonna talk to your mama, right? Like, no way you could come from my loins." Uh, well, my dad was just bothered by what had come from his prodigy, and a friend of mine, Kazi, was riding a bike in this backyard. We had this big backyard, and we were playing jarts, and I just saw him, and I thought, I wonder if I could hit him with this jart while
Oh,
he's riding
no.
while he's riding
Oh,
his bike,
no.
and he's I don't know 40 yards
Listen,
away.
yeah, this is a
Uh,
thought that would
uh,
absolutely go through someone's head. You can't act on it,
uh,
though.
and I whip that jart, and it hits Kazi right in the leg, knocks him off the
Oh.
bike. And I'm like just smiling, and I turn around laughing, and my dad is standing there, and he just whacks me, just punches me, kind of right in the shoulder and chin. And I mean, I totally deserved it, right? It was like it was a moment that's like that
No
is
no child
probably
deserves to
the
be hit by their father.
yes, and that was just unbelievable. What a moron.
Did you
So
stick
it
him
was
with
more
the
like if it
jar,
was
or did
no,
you
I mean it
just
didn't. So the thing about jarts, and I don't know how this poor tragedy happened with this child you spoke of, but they were kind of rounded on the end. Like it wasn't the one we had
yeah,
at least. They were at a
wasn't yeah,
little bit of a point to get in the grass, but
you hadn't filed
no,
the tips.
no, no. It just hit him and knocked him off his bike, and then So now my dad says, "Okay, we're playing a contact sport here." So bam, which was sort of Kazi should have come over and plunked me actually.
Yeah.
All right, yeah. Okay, I
But
don't know how we even got to
but
that.
the point is, if we outlawed jarts, can we not do something about AR-15s? Is
Yeah,
that too much to ask?
yeah.
Apparently it is.
And still let people have their Second Amendment right to possess the muskets that people had
Mhm.
in
Absolutely.
the 1812s. Hey, little pivot here, but I just can't, anytime I see a news story about the failure of X or
Yeah.
Twitter, I just want to just bring it onto the podcast because it seems to be part of the political, cultural psyche. X, 1 year later, the headline says, how Elon Musk made a mess of Twitter's business. Fewer workers, fewer users, less revenue, and a lot more misinformation.
Yep.
I mean, I still am on the platform and only now use it to broadcast this because it's in our regular old stream. So hypocrisy noted. But then also because every once in a while I need to pull some news thing that's in Twitter and all the rest of it.
Because somebody in the group text sends you a Twitter link.
Totally. Or there's a newsy story and still
That would be me.
A lot of news people still want X Twitter. What do you call it now? When it was Twitter, you sent a tweet. Now that it's X, what is the current parlance? Are you sent? First of all, are you sending a tweet? Are you posting an X? What are we? What
I
are
think most people just say tweet.
they still call it tweet,
Yeah,
even though it's called
like,
X? Because
yeah,
it's not Twitter, right? It's
no, but
is
most
it
people
called?
still call it Twitter. Um,
Huh.
it feels the people who call it an X. This is just me
Oh, okay,
as a user.
power user, super user.
Not a no, 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 no,
Mm,
not. I
mm,
have not
mm,
paid for
mm.
the blue check mark.
Oh,
Just
okay.
regular uh, Twitter stalker, like most people are. Though I did kind of go a little bit viral,
Oh, recently
which was yeah, it was
or
about
2018?
no, 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 no. It was yeah, I can't remember if it was before vacation or during my vacation. Must have been
Oh,
before. It wasn't a vacation before I went to
yeah,
France, so it
yeah.
was about a week and a half ago.
Really?
Yeah, a
What
little. I had tweeted about
lectern gate?
some all the time um, about the numbers have come in on vouchers in Arkansas and
Mm.
um, is a part of the Learns Act that was passed here. And as it turned out, only 5%. So the argument with vouchers, Doug, is listen, people. I'm
I can
just
see already
shifting.
why this has gone viral. I mean, a powerful X post about the voucher program in Arkansas. I mean, that's what Twitter was
Yes,
made for. Yeah.
exactly.
That and some sort of
Listen,
Nazi propaganda, of course, sort of
yeah.
the yin and the yang. But anyway,
The argument with vouchers is these kids in underperforming public schools,
yes.
they need the opportunity to go to private schools where they can get better education. So
Totally
we
understand.
enact a voucher program, and vouchers are handed out. What percentage of vouchers do you think went to students who were switching from public school to private school?
2.3.
Well, it was five. Thank you for
No.
going real low, but yeah, it was
Okay.
five.
Well, seems about right.
Yeah.
Beat expectations.
Yeah. 95% of vouchers went to students who are already in private schools.
Yeah.
Like the whole and so I think
Mm.
it turned out that it was 204 students ended up switching this school year here in Arkansas. But at the same time, millions of dollars were taken out of public schools um, and sent to private schools, mostly private Christian schools,
Yeah.
um, in this voucher scam as a way of gutting public schools. And
It
yeah, so
really is. It really is tragic. I'm glad.
yeah,
I
yeah,
mean, that
yeah.
is worth going
So yeah,
viral
it
on.
it got a lot of notice
Great.
on the Arkansas political Twitter. What are
Huh.
we even talking about anymore?
Arc X, is that what they call it? Arkansas
It's
Twitter,
it's it's
Arkansas.
it's actually there's a hashtag. It's hashtag ARPX for Arkansas politics.
Hmm.
You're gonna sit with that one, try to figure it out.
Phoenix. What no idea.
ARPX.
It sounds like the initials for an airport in outside of Phoenix. All right. Hey, what do you want to do? You want to jump right into Donald J. Trump for a while here? Do you want to talk about
Oh my goodness.
let's just talk about the former presidents and lead insurrectionists and criminal defendants situation in court. There are so
Oh,
very many. Here is another that I'd forgotten about, or maybe had sort
mhm.
of gone quiet, and that is that in a few states there are lawsuits seeking to keep Donald J. Trump off of the ballot as a presidential candidate because they say that he has committed some kind of treason-like action through the January 6th business that should make him ineligible from running for president. And Colorado is one of those states. And recently, it keeps creeping along. And
Mhm.
a judge apparently tossed out Trump's attempt to throw out the case. So Trump wanted the case thrown out. The judge said, "No, I throw out your claim to throw out the case." And this thing goes on. You think there's any legs to this in any of the states that matter, which is only, again, for the election, Arizona, Georgia, Pennsylvania and Michigan, and Wisconsin. Everywhere else, for our purposes of Donald Trump never again being the president of the United States, are already settled, and those are the places that are up for grabs. That's my view anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think you're wrong.
I would invite others to take that view as well and not worry about what's happening in Colorado or Minnesota or Arkansas.
Yeah, though, I mean, this is
or Hutchinson, Kansas, where we have a new person, Carrie. Hello, Carrie. Nice to have you here. Sorry to miss your weather update.
Yeah, and it's muggy. Nothing's worse than mugginess. Ugh, that's the worst. That's the worst weather, right? Muggy.
For sure. Nobody says, "Oh, I love a good muggy day." Like people argue if you want a rainy day.
I walked out, Doug. I walked out of the door this morning, and it was like, so muggy.
I love it. I just grabbed my whatever and just felt right back at home. Finally, the mugginess is set in.
Listen, Donald Trump is a loser who loses repeatedly. This case in Colorado, and I think it's important, and I'll explain why in a second. But Colorado losing, Georgia losing, New York losing, DC, Florida losing. This guy is he is losing court cases all over the country. I mean, we should see like the electoral map of him losing court cases. That should be part of the punishment of in any state where you lose a court case, you lose those electoral votes too. I think that would be great. But listen, here's why this is important. This is important because of political pressure. And, we've talked about this, that, what are the scenarios in which Donald Trump is not the Republican nominee in 2024? One of them is that, he's not the nominee because he's in jail, though parenthetically, he might be in jail and still be the nominee. But, that's one of the scenarios. One of the scenarios is that, he cuts a deal that says, okay, listen, drop all this stuff and I won't run for president. I'll go quietly away and live in my $1 billion Mar-a-Lago. I think at some point a viable scenario is he flees the country and, he's just gone.
Not a bad scenario. Right.
One day we find out that Donald Trump now lives in the south of France and it's just gone. And I think one of the scenarios is that there is pressure for him to drop out because there is no pathway to victory.
Yeah.
And
if you literally couldn't be on the ballot, you mean?
If you are not on the ballot in states, you can't win. And whether it's Georgia, I mean, Colorado is a blue state, but it's one of those states that Republicans feel like should be in play. If this were to happen in Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, Nevada, Arizona, I mean that.
Well, I guess that's what could happen. Is this Colorado one goes through, other people pick it up.
Yes, yes. There could be, the domino effect of him being kicked off the ballot in Colorado or barred from the ballot in Colorado would embolden these kinds of lawsuits in other states, and there would then be precedent. So I think this is an important thing to not just dismiss and say, "Oh, isn't that cute? He's not on the ballot in Colorado." I think this could turn out to be something significant.
Yeah, and I don't really know this case. I don't know the particularities of why Colorado would be able to say that someone who is not convicted of a crime could still be ineligible from being on the ballot. There's some reason. I just don't know what it is. I don't know if that's even the case in state law in every state. I'm no lawyer. I just play one on the podcast a day or two a week. So I don't know, but it seems like a very technical kind of thing. And look, Donald Trump is in real trouble for a whole series of things. Sorry, I'm trying to get to my myriad of Donald Trump photos of his treatment. And there's a lot of ways somebody can end up in court. Somebody can have a lawsuit brought by another citizen, and that's one kind of way to be in court. But when you are the subject of the state or of the federal government, your chances of winning that case are extraordinarily low. Now, maybe as low as the chance of Donald Trump winning the presidency in 2016. So you might think he's got a winner in his pocket all the time. But when you are facing prosecutors, state line prosecutors or federal prosecutors, they tend not to bring cases, whether the one in New York, which is about his business dealings, this one in New York, which is about the fraud that he's committed, and that's the one that he was in with Michael Cohen testifying against him yesterday, or the Georgia case at the state level, or 2 federal charges stemming from the January 6th activities, and then the putting the documents at risk at Mar-a-Lago in his pants box. Like when you're facing that, the reason that there's a like 96% conviction rate at the federal level is because people plead out. And that's what was happening in Georgia with 3 of his lawyers. 3 of Donald Trump's lawyers have pled guilty to crimes in Georgia. They looked at the evidence against them. And by the way, not a lawyer, but I do know what a RICO charge is. And the reason all those defendants in Georgia were charged together is because they're all charged with the same crime.
Yep.
So it's very difficult for some defendants to be found guilty of the crime and others to not be found guilty of the crime. And when these people pled guilty and then said they would work with the government to tell all the things that they know,
yep,
Trump is in such trouble. He can say all the things he wants. Did you hear him say that yesterday or a day ago? He would be glad to be the Nelson Mandela. Did you hear the Nelson Mandela phrase?
Yes.
Okay. No, Donald Trump, you do not have the fortitude.
That's right.
To sit in prison, even if you believe you're there as a political prisoner. Does anybody think this guy has the wherewithal to withstand prison?
Yep.
And look, he's never going to check into a jail. That is not going to happen. No former president is going to be put in jail, but he could be put on house arrest. He could have a number of limitations put on him. He could be locked into Mar-a-Lago without the ability to leave, or only be able to leave over certain hours and only be able to leave with the judge's approval. That's all very realistic. You know what that would do to the psyche of this cat? Oh my gosh. Having some judge somewhere or some law clerk be the one that has to send him information about if he can leave for work release or not. I mean, holy cats. The trouble facing this man is just unreal.
Yeah.
And
So
I don't know how he gets himself out of it. I just don't. Well, I guess here's how he gets himself out of it. He wins the presidency.
Yep.
And then the federal crimes go away. He then says, I can't be prosecuted as on the state charges because I'm currently the president of the United States. So that all has to wait. And then somebody else wins in Georgia, and some governor there or somebody, gives him a pardon and he's out. I mean, there's very real scenarios of how the man gets out of this. And there's also very real scenarios that he doesn't.
Yeah. So in the New York case is going on right now. And Donald Trump has been attending that case, that trial. And I have to plead a little bit of ignorance. It feels to me like this, this is the trial in which he is accused of falsely inflating his assets and net worth, and then to falsely deflate them at other times to manipulate taxes, financial arrangements, and all of those kinds of things.
And primarily loans. That he defrauded banks by lying about his financial situation to get more preferable loan terms. So the investors in those banks lost
Yep.
money because Donald Trump cheated them because he lied. That's kind of this is where harm was done
Yep.
question. So
Yeah.
he's a fraudster.
A fraudster. Yeah. Um, so Michael Cohen, his former fixer, was testifying over the last couple of days, and apparently very heated testimony. Admitted lying under oath several times.
Mhm.
Michael Cohen, not a super, um, credible guy. Though has become a bit of a darling of
Yeah.
anti-Trump people. Though he's somebody that I don't have a ton of respect for, even after having turned on Donald Trump. Uh, so apparently, at the end of his testimony, Trump's lawyers made a motion, basically non-technical terminology here, but asking the judge to dismiss the case
Yeah.
because Cohen had lied. And the judge immediately denied their request. And Donald Trump, defendant Donald Trump, um, apparently muttered the word unbelievable and stormed out of the courtroom, stunning his lawyers. Did you see this?
I did.
Stunning his lawyers and everybody involved. Basically, like, he didn't get what he wanted,
Yeah.
and he just walked on out. And now
Yeah.
he walks on out, and he talks to the gaggle of reporters that are waiting for him, that he talks to on his way in and his way out of the courtroom. And just about every time he does, he violates the gag order that the
Yeah.
judge has put on him. He had to take the stand yesterday because he had violated that gag order, and apparently there's going to be something like a $10,000 fine, which, for a purported billionaire, wouldn't be that much of a big deal. But listen, I don't think Donald Trump actually has the money. Like, I don't, like, I don't,
Yeah.
it
I don't
feels to
think he
me
wants
like
to be
it's
burning 10
all,
grand.
no, like, no, I don't think he's liquid, in terms of
That's right.
cash.
That's right.
And so, this New York case is, and this is the one that's really interesting to me
Yeah.
because it's the one that's about what Donald Trump cares about most.
Oh yeah.
And that is the perception that he is rich and successful. And this is the one that's pointing out the fact that he's not rich and successful. He's a sham. He's a fraudster. And this is the one that I think, he's there attending this one in person. I don't think he's required to be, but
Not at all
um
required to
it
be.
it's just like this one is super interesting, and it's gonna hurt. And I it feels like he's not going to jail for, in this one, unless he
Right.
violates the gag order, even more. um he's not going to jail for this one. It's more of a civil lawsuit.
Yeah,
um
and his company
but
will be shut down. They already pulled the business license. Now they
mhm,
put a stay on that, I guess, but it means that Donald Trump and his children will not be able to do business in New York, in the state of New York. And if that happens when in the business that he happens to be in,
yeah,
that's tough because it's not like he can cross the river over in New Jersey and make money running a casino. We know the man would lose money running a casino. It's not like he's going to start a a college to teach people how to do business because we
yeah.
know that that will be fraud and that will go up. He's not going to
You know
sell
what?
steaks. I'm just
Well,
saying the guy's not
that's
going to
what I
be a
was gonna
steak
suggest.
salesman
No, I was
or
gonna I
sell
was gonna
ties. He's not going to sell
yeah,
ties or
yeah,
run
I was gonna
hotels.
Yeah, I was gonna suggest steaks. I feel like that would be like, Omaha Steaks has like a good thing going on. Like, I could see like a Trump steak thing being,
Yeah, cell block steak.
yeah,
He could sell like prison steaks. He could sell cell block
prison
steaks.
steaks,
All
cell
right.
blocks.
Um,
Uh,
yeah. Look,
so, but listen, I mean, in the
it's
headline that you mentioned, so things are going bad in Colorado, things are going bad in New York, things are going really bad in Georgia because people are flipping on
mhm,
Donald Trump
yes.
left and right. Former lawyers pleading guilty, becoming witnesses of the state, and he's in a lot of trouble. And maybe most significantly, this news that broke, I think it was NBC News that broke, that Mark Meadows, the former chief of staff, former congressman from North Carolina, um, the boss of Cassie Hutchinson, star of the first season of the January 6th hearing show. Um, Mark Meadows got an immunity deal from the special counsel from Jack Smith, and that this is not good news for Donald Trump.
Nope.
This is his right hand man. This is his chief of staff,
Yeah.
and he had a contentious relationship with chiefs of staff. We know, John Kelly and others. He had a good relationship with Mark Meadows. He absolutely had a strong relationship with Mark Meadows. Seemed to be, of all of his chiefs of staff, seemed to be the one that was uh, best prepared to deal with Donald Trump.
Yeah.
And Mark Meadows knows where all the bodies are buried because he helped bury a lot of them.
Yeah, especially
And
around the January 6th and
yes,
fake electors plot.
absolutely,
He was deep
he
in it.
was there in the
Yep.
midst of all of it. And I think it was Cassidy Hutchinson who said recently on a podcast or somewhere that that Mark Meadows' wife was would complain about how his suit smelled like smoke because he was burning so many documents that like he was getting the smoke into the fabric of his suits. I mean, like this is a guy that knows what was happening, knows that what they were doing was wrong, and knows like what Donald Trump's intentions were and what his plans were, and he was there helping to act them out. And if he is cooperating with the government now,
That's it. Yeah.
his Donald Trump's goose is cooked.
Yeah. And look, when Mark Meadows moves against you, and then in this case that you talked about in Georgia or in New York, when Donald Trump was put on the stand because of violating the gag order, he had said again something about the clerk, and that was what the gag order was about. It was you don't speak about the
Staff.
officers of the court or the staff
Yeah.
or the clerks. And he did right outside the court during the break. The judge hears about it, brings him in, and then Trump says, he puts him on the stand, so he's under oath. And Trump says to him, "Oh, I wasn't speaking about the clerk. I was talking about Michael Cohen." And the judge says, "I don't believe you." When the judge, who is the sole person to decide the case,
Yes, because
says that
his
the
lawyer did
person
not check the box for the jury trial.
they didn't want a jury trial. They thought they could work a judge. It wasn't a mistake, in other words. When the judge says to you, "I find you in lacking credibility," or whatever lawyer, judge-like phrase he says, "You're lying to me right now under oath. Clearly, that is not what you meant, and I'm fining you $10,000." This is the moronic activity of a person who just truly does not understand or care. Now, he could be doing this on purpose, so the judge turns against him time and time again, and then he can say, "See, the judge made it personal." This could all be part of, getting people to feel sorry for him. I don't know. But man, the guy is in serious trouble. And
So
all it takes,
apparently-
again, it takes 3% of people who voted for Trump in Arizona and in Georgia and in Pennsylvania and in Wisconsin and Michigan to even become more dissatisfied with him. And he can't win those states. And if he
Right.
can't win those states, he's not the president of the United States.
That's right.
Barring this, that the turnout for the Democratic nominee is something as to be expected. That's
Yes.
what also has to happen.
Yep.
So there's
Yep.
still some things that there is still a scenario this is from the mind of the 2016 Doug that is saying, "Oh no, there is still a scenario," because I sat on, 538 blog using their little electoral college guesser multiple times. And there was no chance Donald Trump was going to win the presidency. He couldn't do it. The blue wall was too strong. And then the blue wall collapsed because Hillary Clinton's choices to treat people in those blue wall states in a particular way. Now, I don't think Joe Biden will do that, but other conditions could be in the offing. There are a number of things that could be a real problem. I think Biden's doing a heck of a job. I think it's great that he's been out there pushing $56 billion from Congress for domestic issues and $106 billion for a couple of wars and border security for more staff, that kind of stuff. I think he's doing great. And I don't believe in jinxing, and I'm not trying to do that. there could be a situation where come late summer or early fall, Joe Biden, I don't know, falls off a bike. And truly a person of that age, like might not be able.
Yeah.
There's a scenario in which people freak out,
Mhm.
right? Like,
Yes.
uh, I mean, and I
And
only
I
say
don't
all
think
that
it would
because I
take
do
I don't
believe
think it
Donald
would
Trump
take much.
being president, it would be so, so, so bad. Worse than him winning re-election, worse than his first term, worse than winning re-election. For all this stuff to go down and then the American people to pick this guy, that would be just, I mean, that's it. The the presidency is forever soiled. It can handle a one-time whoopsie daisy under the circumstances that were in place in 2016, but it can't handle it if it's chosen full-eyed, full-throated in 2024. Just, and by the fact that we still have to have this conversation in 2024 is just should be maddening enough.
Yes.
People should just be sick and tired of having to talk about Donald Trump.
Yeah, but I'm more concerned today about Mike Johnson than I am Donald Trump.
Okay. All right.
Um, so
What's got you
I
wound up about the little hoot owl? He reminds
uh,
me of that hoot owl from those cartoons as a kid. Face, the glasses, the hair.
the Tootsie Roll Pop.
Yeah,
How
yeah.
many?
Tootsie Roll Pop. How many licks does it take to get the center of a Tootsie Pop?
Yeah,
How many votes does
yeah.
it take to become the Speaker of the House? One. Oop, that was it. Crunch. So we should make that meme.
That's
That's a
that's
freebie.
good. That's good. I like
Anybody
it. I like
creative
it.
ever watched this?
Yeah. So we finally have a Speaker of the House. It's been an amusing few weeks since Kevin McCarthy was removed from office and the speakership was vacated.
Which I'm so pleased about, frankly. I mean, I'm don't put me
Yeah,
on Team Gates, but just at the personal level, the way that man chose to use the speakership for his own
yep,
personal benefits, and
yeah,
now he doesn't have it anymore because Matt Gaetz took it from him, just somehow
yeah,
feels like, yeah, that's what happens when you act like this. Was something that we all should give great respect for, and at a political level, and honor the role itself. And Kevin McCarthy turned it into what he turned it into, personal grievance, and look at who I am. I'm glad he's
yeah.
just gone. He doesn't get, and I'm glad Jackaless Joe doesn't, or
Jim.
Jackaless Jim doesn't get it either. He didn't really ever have a chance, nor did any
Yeah.
of those others. And then this guy
The
comes
problem,
just rolling around.
yeah, the problem with this guy, Mike Johnson, is that he's Jim Jordan with a jacket.
Sure.
He is the most extreme, the most right wing Speaker of the House in I ever.
Yeah,
I
probably
mean,
because
like
he's a new form of it. He's a new
yeah. I
variety.
mean,
Yeah.
yeah. This is a guy who is. Doug, did you see his speech? I mean, he went
No.
full on Christian nationalism. In his speech, talking about how God had ordained that he would be the Speaker of the House, and God puts people in leadership, and all like full on that kind of stuff. He is a constitutional lawyer who
Yeah.
led the charge with the trying to come up with some scheme to keep Donald Trump in the presidency in 2020. He was one of both times. He was one of the attorneys, one of the House managers that represented Donald Trump before the United States Senate during his impeachment trials. I mean, this is a guy who is,
Mm-hmm.
you go down the list from, cultural issues um, like same-sex marriage, LGBTQ rights. We talked about public schools and vouchers, private schools already. This is a guy who supports a national voucher system and national school choice. Um, this is a guy who, on economic issues, from Social Security, Medicaid, Medicare, all of these things, like this guy is more extreme then he doesn't support funding, supporting Ukraine. I mean, this is a guy who is as far right as we have ever had, holding the gavel and being Speaker of the House. And his ascension now, like, the thing that's concerning is he's kind of meek and mild. He's a kinder, gentler, MAGA guy. But Matt Gaetz, I'm like, he's not Jim Jordan. He's not Matt Gaetz. He's not the guy who's out there ticking people off and being flamboyant. He is, how we used to say that, like, the thing that would scare us would be someone with Donald Trump's ideology who was better at the politics, and how scary that would be.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we have with this guy. He is right there in line with Matt Gaetz, right there in line with Jim Jordan, and all of Marjorie Taylor Greene and Lauren Boebert, like, all completely in line with all of them. But he seems like a nice guy. You'd kind of want to have him over, like, if he and his wife were coming over to watch the LSU Arkansas game, you'd be like, okay, cool.
Yeah, and look, and I just put more stock in that stuff. I'm not on his side, but policies don't matter. It especially for a speaker. What the speaker's personal beliefs are and so on doesn't make any difference. That's not their job as the speaker. Their job as the speaker isn't to be the front man to the band and everyone follow me. Their job is to make sure that the House functions and that certain duties are performed. All of those policies, in my view, he's just wrong about all of them. They don't work for the outcomes he wants. They don't work for the American people. They're bad ideas. People are going to be in leadership with really, really bad ideas, especially for the rest of our lives. The Republican Party has just bought into a set of bad ideas, are not going away. But the way someone is, how they actually function, that's what creates chaos, aka Kevin McCarthy. Backstabbing, lying, saying something to the president, saying something else to the press, saying something to Matt Gaetz, saying something else to Hakeem Jeffries. Like that kind of stuff, self-serving, self-seeking, that's what destroys. I just want to add a little encouragement to some people. Yes, you're going to have people in leadership with really, really bad ideas. People that others have elected think they have great ideas. Politics is not fundamentally about policy disagreements because things get negotiated. But if you don't have someone who's honorable and trustworthy to negotiate with, if the Biden administration or Chuck Schumer doesn't believe that they can negotiate with the House in clear conscience and figure out what's going on, if they're going to have a speaker that says one day, I'm never going to have an impeachment inquiry without the whole House voting on it, and then a week later launches an impeachment inquiry. This is the kind of chaos that was Kevin McCarthy. And that's what we never had. And look, the best way for Mike Johnson to not be Speaker of the House was for Democrats to win races in New York and California. Yep. So put the blame where you want. But the reason this nonsense is going on is because Democrats didn't do their jobs in New York and California and lost seats they should have won.
And the guy leading the effort with the DCCC lost his race.
Yeah. The chief architect and fundraiser in New York lost. Okay, so having somebody, and look, I have no idea if Mike Johnson's a trustworthy person with bad ideas, but if he is, there is no bad idea Mike Johnson has that will become law. None. They don't have control of the Senate and they don't have control of the White House. And for the remainder of this term, nothing is going to happen with his bad ideas. Let's move on. And if it rallies up Democrats and anti-Trumpers and stuff to feel fueled to go after him, great. But burning a lot of energy on the wackadoodle ideas of these people, what it does show is, okay, the Republican Party just has when the moderates are like, okay, we got to go with friggin' Mike Johnson. That's what we're going to have to go with. But a lot of them said, but at least like it is meaningful that he's a kinder, gentler version of bad ideas, because bad ideas with someone who's Jim Jordan or Kevin McCarthy or Matt Gaetz, that's untenable. The country can't be led by people like that. So my take is, let the Speaker of the House, let all the Republicans have all the bad ideas they want. Now, if they stop good things from happening, that will be a problem, of course. But again, there's divided government in this country because of how voters made choices. So the best thing we can do is vote common good. And you can find out all more at votecommongood.com. Yeah. All right, we done? Is that good? I know there's still other stuff, but I gotta go. Yeah. What did we miss? Any other? Oh yeah, this little question. I thought this was a great article in the Atlantic. Will Republicans pay a price for extremism? Trump is becoming more aggressive on immigration than ever. And look, we've been saying it, and we're going to continue to say it through our documentary in 2024, that immigration and border experiences, Democrats need to get right on this. That's Biden is not, and Democrats are silent, and they're just seeding this conversation. And I don't like to say we told you so, but we told you this.
Yes, we did.
2.5 years ago. This was it.
Yes.
And of course it was it. And they just decided to not fix it. And it's they should have a comprehensive immigration plan in front of Congress every single day. And they don't. They have it on 0 days. They have no action on this at all. 2 years in, and it is unacceptable at this point.
And they have seeded not just the issue, but the narrative around the issue, and turned in what should be an absolute slam dunk of an issue for Democrats, and frankly, an issue in which they can expand the Democratic tent, because as I say often, if there's one issue that evangelical Christians are out of step with Republican leadership, if there's one issue, it's the immigration issue. Now listen, there's a huge percentage that aren't out of step. I'm talking about the ones that are. If they're of those people that are flippable, the one issue where they are out of step with Republican leadership more than any other is immigration. And Democrats have just ignored it. It's infuriating.
Don't want to solve it. Apparently, I mean, you and I have talked with many people in the Democratic system, elected officials, who we have great flow of conversation. As soon as we bring this up, everything shifts into, talking points, and their hands go below the table and they act like they're in, an HR manager at some point. The official position of our company is to do this, and that. Okay, you don't believe that for a second. And why it's that way, I don't know. Why they've abandoned, Homeland Security Secretary and put it all on him. It's just, anyway, maddening. We're going to stand. Maybe we can make a turn. Maybe the Biden team will make comprehensive immigration reform, including refugee reform and border crossing reform. By the way, drugs don't come in over the Rio Grande River in backpacks. They come in trucks. That's where all the work should be done.
Have you not watched Better Call Saul? Come on.
And have you not studied your supply side economics and stop blaming the supply and start blaming the demand? Maybe the problem for fentanyl in this country is that we have an addicted country, and we're spending no time, energy, or money in public spaces helping to solve that. Instead, we're saying, well, just don't give them what they want, and then people won't die of fentanyl. They'll just die of something else because we're not actually solving the problem. So many things. But thanks for being with us today on the Common Good podcast.
Listen, before we go off the air, just when we gather again on Tuesday, our normal politics day, will we have another candidate for president on the Democratic side?
Yeah, I don't know. We very well might. And if we got my former representative Dean Phillips, who's apparently running for president, to come on and say, "Hey, I want to talk about." Yes, thank you. He's my newly minted congressional representative, not my former one, because I got redistricted. I got moved around like a pawn in a chessboard of politics. We
Yeah.
used to have Ilhan Omar as my representative. Now I have Dean Phillips. I like both of them, but I really do like Dean Phillips. And if that man is going to truly, because you saw a bus driving around Arkansas that said Dean
No,
Phillips
no,
for
no, no,
president.
no, 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 no. I
Oh, you didn't?
saw a video. No, Doug, if
That's not
I
your
had
video?
no,
You need to
that's
be
not
more
my
clear about the
video.
videos you're sending on text messages.
No, it's
Okay.
not my video, but it was video that I did see of. And listen, I like Dean.
Yeah.
I'm super interested in Dean Phillips for president
Yeah.
campaign, whether it's in 2024 or some other year. The tagline on the back of the bus, "Make America Affordable Again." Not good, Dean.
Well, it's
Not
not.
good.
It's a chuckle line. Maybe it's. All right, I gotta go.
Mm.
But maybe next Tuesday when we gather again, such things will happen. Hey, thanks everybody. Thanks Alex. Thanks Sandy. All right, just gonna pop
Kimberly,
Sandy in there
Jim,
because we haven't had
Patricia.
Sandy in there yet. Yeah. All those people. Carrie, Sandy, nice to see both of you. And if you're not already following us over on YouTube, that's our favorite place. Okay, bye.